What's up, everybody, and welcome in to the Liquid Trucking Podcast for, Amanda, I don't know what we're on. Episode 136. It's funny, Amanda, I would tell you that it's been really hard to keep track of the episodes since we got into the triple digits, but then you go back and listen to, episode 40, and I'll be like, what is this, 37, 62? I have no memory whatsoever for little numbers like that. It's something that has always been a problem for me. Back in my radio days, I used to have to, everybody that shook my hand and told me their name, I would have to say their name back to them, or I would not remember their name 3 seconds after they told me. I don't know if you've ever had a problem like that.
Yeah, you just got to do it in the monster voice, though. So I'd be, you'd be like, hey, I'm Marcus. And I'd be like, oh, hey, Marcus. And then you remember it.
Please tell me that you've done that with all the celebrities you've met.
Oh, my God. Yeah, obviously.
Brad Pitt. All right, I got it.
I got it.
Well, listen, a slight digression to lead off the show, but that's what you've come to expect from us here on the Liquid Trucking Podcast, and we really enjoy bringing you this content every single week. Our episode today is very exciting and also very poignant. I feel like it's a question that so many people are going to ask that listen to this show that do not drive for Liquid Trucking. Now, we said before, there's about 200 drivers at Liquid Trucking, give or take at any given time, Amanda. But give or take at any given week, we've got 2,000 people listening to this podcast. And so it makes you wonder, are you out there just because you really love Liquid Trucking? Is this a fanboy situation? Are you waiting for us to give away some merch? Or, more likely, are you a prospective driver, maybe not super happy about the company that you're working at right now, and maybe looking for a change? This podcast is cool. It gives you all the information you'll ever need about Liquid Trucking, but Amanda, tanking is a different animal. It's not the same as bumping docks in a dry van. And so that's what we're here to talk about today, are kind of the ins and outs of making the transition into tanking. We've got 3 drivers that are going to join us here around the corner to talk about that a little bit. But when you first got into doing what you're doing now, Amanda, which is essentially the same thing I do, we make podcasts for truck drivers. How much did you know about the different lanes? Now, I know that your Pop was a truck driver, so you probably have a little insight. But did you know before you got into this job how diverse trucking really is as an industry?
Of course I did. No, I'm completely lying. It's like Aladdin. It's a whole new world for me, and I continue to learn more every day. You'll see sometimes I always have my pen with me when we're doing the podcast and I put little notes down. Sometimes it's so I remember to say something later, but a lot of times it's because I've heard a new phrase or something like that and I want to read about it more. I want to look up what it means. I I didn't know what a reefer was.
I did, but I live in Oregon, so it's not surprising that I know what it is. It's very green over here.
Being able to throw that into a conversation with somebody is very helpful, I love it. I learn so much every single time, and that's just going to keep on going. So I'm sure with this conversation in particular, somebody who maybe has been driving for a long time, but not driving like this, you're probably going to learn something too. And it's better to hear it from the people who've done it than from me, because I'll speculate. And I might be right, but not
maybe.
Always.
Right. I might be right too. Flip a coin and you'll figure out whether or not I'm going to be right. But no, it's a good point. And I think that there's something, we've already recorded this conversation. So just here's Marcus from the future talking to you for a second. It makes sense that it's a little bit daunting, all right? There's a lot that goes into tanking that doesn't get even touched, talked about, thought about, paid any mind in a lot of other different lanes, okay? You flatbed guys are out there busting your ass. We know that. Those tarps are not light. Those straps are not easy to tie down. Those loads can become unsecure really easily. But there's no plumbing involved. There's no pressure involved like there is in something like a pneumatic trailer or even more so a tank. And so I want you to listen to, there's some drivers that will talk in this conversation we're about to have about the training aspect here. And it's something that I don't feel like we talk about enough on this show. The drivers do get to mention it from time to time, but I just want to tell you right now, if you're listening to this episode and you're thinking about making the transition, you're thinking about giving our guy Jake Debo a call, which by all means, just call him to chat with him. He's a great guy, great talk, great hang. you might be worried about the training that you're going to get going into such a career where there is a lot more attention to detail, a lot more things that can go wrong, a lot more nuance, if you will. Liquid's got the training down, man. And listen, I know the guys that you're going to go in and train with. I've met them. They've taken me out for cheeseburgers. They're good dudes, and they're very focused on their jobs. And not only that, they know it like the back of their hand. So I think that's important going in. Like I said, Amanda, you'll hear the drivers talk about that, but if Liquid's got anything dialed aside from the culture and the management and the way drivers feel and how they treat drivers, it's the training. I mean, it just is. We hear it on this show all the time, and I want prospective Liquid employees to focus in on that today, because this is a great episode if you're thinking about making the transition.
Absolutely. Training and family.
There you go.
It's all about the family.
It really is. Kiss the ring,
Marcus.
Right? I say kiss the ring, but I lost my wedding ring 3 months into the marriage, and I've never gotten another one because my wife is convinced that I'm going to lose it. So I don't have a ring to kiss, but it is all about the family, as Amanda said. And I think that's about it. I think we can go ahead and get our drivers in here because lots to cover today and a great interview segment. So without further ado, let's welcome our 3 drivers on. We got 2 new drivers making their first appearance on the podcast today, and I'm very excited. So let's get them in here.
Welcome to the gold standard of podcasts for the gold standard of drivers. This is the Liquid Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
All right, welcome back into the Liquid Trucking Podcast. Amanda, very excited, as we talked about in the open there, for this next through these next series of guests that we have. And, you know, I wanted to draw a real quick comparison before we bring our drivers in here for you and I, and that is doing something that is similar to your prior career but is not the same. And you and I are both in that boat, while obviously what we do does not, it really pales in comparison to what the drivers that we're about to talk to do every day. But this is a big shift for you and I, too, because we're still talking into a microphone. We're still using those basic skills. But you and I had to learn an entire industry. We had to figure out all this new technology. We don't have an engineer on staff that's ready to step in here and fix anything for us. So this is a little bit different for us because we actually have a little bit of experience in what we're talking about here, which is making a career change that sort of challenges you to learn new things and be better in different aspects of your job. You have any thoughts on that? Because you're in the same boat I am.
I feel like making the transition from terrestrial radio to podcasting has done one really amazing thing for me, and that's limit questions from strangers. You know, it might not sound as exciting, I guess. Maybe people are intimidated when I tell them what I do now, but yeah, just definitely a lot less conversation with people I don't know.
Yep. It's and you know what? The other thing too is the conversations that we do get to have with people that we don't know are more than 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes. You get to actually stretch these conversations out and get to learn something about people. The longest radio break I ever did was, I think, 29 minutes, which is unheard of on music-intensive radio, which is what I was on. But I get to talk to these guys for almost an hour every single time, and I feel like we really get to know each other and start to develop a relationship, which is really cool because you don't get that with your listeners. In fact, in terrestrial radio, when you get that is when they show up at your house and you're like, hey, I didn't invite you here, but here you are. So let's stand out on the lawn and have a friendly conversation before you leave and never come back, right?
I swear you guys have it worse than us. I remember a coworker, I walked out his front door one morning to a gift basket with homemade muffins and things of that nature. So I don't know, y'all get the love, definitely. But I think that talking to these guys, though, way less intimidating than like Gene Simmons screaming at me and hanging up the phone. So I'm down. I'm ready for the transition. I'm just curious to know what it was like for them. Obviously different.
I'll tell you, every single live radio person has a Gene Simmons story, and he can get bent. All right, you know what? There's plenty of Kiss music that I love, but Gene Simmons has an attitude problem. And with that, we'll go ahead and digress before we get into me just talking shit about every celebrity that I have in my back of my head right now. Let's bring our drivers in here. They're the celebrities today, and we really appreciate the time that they're giving us here to talk about this subject. Let's first welcome back to the show Joseph Hutchinson. We call him Hutch here on the show. Hutch, thanks so much for being here, man. Glad to have you back.
Glad to be back. I did have one quick question for the terrestrial radio host. If
Yeah.
you were to have two jobs, would your second job be extraterrestrial radio?
Ah, look at
I
that.
don't know. People do say I'm out of this world, so I think it would fit.
I got something for that, Hutch. I got something. That was a good little rim
There you
shot there
go.
for you. Hutch, welcome back, man. Glad to have you. Also joining us today, making his first appearance on the show, we've got Rondell Markwell. Rondell, thank you so much for being here, my friend. Welcome to the Liquid Trucking Podcast.
You're gonna bring me in after that? Okay, come on, talk about stealing the show. Jeez.
Welcome in, man. We're glad to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us today. And our final guest on the show here today, I had a good conversations, actually multiple conversations with this man at the third annual Liquid Trucking Jamboree. And I was really heavy on trying to get him on the show. And it didn't work back then, but he's kind enough to come on now. And I can't wait to welcome Thomas Fish to the show. Thomas, thank you so much for being here, my friend. Really glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much, man. Now, what we're here to talk about today, fellas, is coming from different lanes. Obviously, you heard us talk a little bit about it when we opened the break. It's a change for drivers to come from tanking. Now, you're still driving. You're still spending the majority of your day doing the same thing that you might have done if you were hauling dry van or reefer or flatbed, you name it. But tanking is just a different animal. That's what I continue to hear. Over 130 plus episodes, we hear all the time that tanking is a different animal. So, Hutch, I'm going to start with you, man. Let's get a little background for you. What lane were you in before you came to tanking, and how long were you there? Or lanes, I should say, because you might have done more than one.
Yeah, I'm actually relatively new as a truck driver. This is my third different career, but prior to tanking, I was doing reefer driving.
Okay.
And so just hauling foods, and I did that for about 18 months before I had my fill.
Before you had your fill. Okay, well, I got to wonder, was it the same thing that gives a lot of drivers their fill when it comes to reefer? Was it sleeping next to that refrigeration unit for all those nights that kept you awake? Because, listen, that's one of the main gripes you hear about drivers at truck stops. If they get parked next to a reefer unit, sometimes they'll have a few choice words about that. Was that one of the problems, or was it something else that you didn't like about it that made you look for a switch?
Yeah, it was not that at all. I got, I don't sleep much. Men sleeping aren't friendly to each other. And so lack of sleep isn't a problem for me. But, when I decided I had enough, I was specifically looking for tanking for the reasons that I had enough. So it paid really well, but it was paid by the mile. And so I always had the pressure of getting as many miles as I can, and dedicated runs and everything like that. So that didn't change much. But the problem came in was when the pallets were loaded wrong, when they weren't wrapped, it would fall over. I'd have to go back to stores that I'd already tried to deliver to, and I didn't get paid for any of the in-betweens. Didn't get paid for having to wait for them to clean up the messes that they made that I had no control over, because the trailers are already loaded and sealed before you pick them up. Mm-hmm. And so you got no control over anything, and it really starts frustrating. And then the straw that broke the camel's back, like I said, I was there for 18 months. I finally decided to take 1 week of PTO for a family emergency, and they got grumpy about it. And so I told them where to stick it.
Yeah. There's no quicker way to turn an employee off. I see, Amanda and I were both sitting here nodding our heads to that when you were talking about it. especially like it's one thing if I'm just going to stick my feet in the water for an entire week and you're a little bit grumbly about it because it's a busy time of year, but don't even give me a cross word if I have a family emergency and I'm using my PTO for it. I totally understand that would get under your skin. And Amanda, I see you over there nodding this whole time. Like, I feel like there's a story that we need to hear here.
I will say probably the first time, maybe one of the only times in my life where I ever disrespected an elder at work. I was working with a gentleman who was upset if you stayed home sick, but was upset if you came in sick. And I didn't want to hear it for calling off. So I came into work. I had my medicine. It was a cold. It was stay away from me. We're fine. We're not sharing studios. And I heard him cop an attitude around the corner from my cubicle and I snapped. So listen, you can't always get what you want, especially when you want it both ways. I don't know, man. Companies that value you understand things like that. And if they give you PTO, it's there for you to use it. So I can see where that would be the straw that broke the camel's back. I would be yelling at someone for sure.
I don't feel like I'd be doing my journalistic duties here if I didn't ask you. You said you snapped and then you moved on. I kind of want to know what you said. Can it be said?
I think I threatened. I threatened to go home or cough in his face, and I let him choose. That's where it was at. Like, you can do the rest of my work for today, or I'm going to come cough in your face.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I, on the other hand, have disrespected my elders at work my entire career, and we won't get into that because we don't have enough time. But interesting stuff there. And Hutch, I wonder, you probably had some choice words too. Dealing with a family emergency tends to make us a bit on edge just in general. When you have people step in the way of that or give you some kind of feedback that's not really positive about that, it's hard to keep your cool, isn't it?
It is. And, that's, I mean, I'm on my third year, getting ready to be fourth year at Liquid Trucking. And, there's some other job opportunities that, I'm always emailed to me and everything. But the thing that keeps me around, obviously, the way I was treated from my first job is their time off policy. Like, I actually feel bad about it sometimes asking for time off because, I feel like I'm taking advantage a little bit, but in the same situation, I've had a bunch of issues this year. Like, since October, my mother had a stroke. I welcomed my third grandchild, took grandkids to Disney that had been in the plans for like 5 years. And then here again in the end of September or mid-September, I'm welcoming my fourth grandchild.
Wow.
And so that, like, in the span of a year, I've probably taken almost 4 or 5 weeks off, and I haven't heard anybody complain. I'm actually stressing out, telling my wife, no, I'm not taking off any time for the anniversary. I've already got too many.
Oh, no. That one might be life or death there, Hutch. I would not be worrying about how anyone feels about it. But, like, listen, you guys sacrifice a lot to do the job that you do. So that policy is in place, because of the sacrifice you guys make. You have to have that time to be able to take care of the family. Everybody knows how important that is and how much of a stress that is for you guys when you're on the road. So having a company that's going to support you in your family life is massive, because at the end of the day, I mean, if you're married, if mama's not happy, nobody's happy. And I'm sure they're supporting you and making sure mama's happy so you can be at work doing the thing that you got to do.
Absolutely. And that's great, man. And we hear that all the time on this podcast. And I think that, I look back to the Employee Jamboree as a great example of it. It's a family-oriented deal. They got bouncy castles for the kids. There's something for everybody to do. We're out there smoking meat and watching Thomas do the driving or the truck rodeo. I mean, how much fun! And that whole event is built around your family. So it would be oxymoronic if you needed time off for something like your mother having a stroke. And by the way, we're very sorry to hear that. Hope that she's recovering as we speak here, or has already made a full recovery. That's good, man. And listen, that's all part of what makes you a good employee, is having making sure that you can feel okay about what's going on at home while you're out there over the road. And I think Liquid, to an extent much further than a lot of the companies I've dealt with, understands that and values treating you guys like people and not like numbers. It's something that I've heard from a lot of guys coming from different trucking companies. So good stuff there. Now, we're going to get back to you, Hutch, here. We'll talk a little bit more about the transition, but I just want to lay the groundwork first with the rest of the guys here. Thomas, I'll come to you next. What freight lane or lanes were you in before you got into tanking, and what was behind you making the switch?
Well, I did a lot of things before I did tanking. I started off my whole driving career driving a dump truck.
Okay.
For doing landscaping. And then after that, I went into reefer, and that gets a little insane there. And then I came off the road for a while. I did yard dog at a place, and that's when I first started hauling tanks. They had tanks there. And then after that, I got into tanks, and I'm not looking back.
Very well said. Now, I wonder, when you were doing the yard dog stuff, did you have to get a tanker endorsement to be able to pull tanks around the yard?
Well, see, I had already done that. When I first got my license, I just got everything I could at the time. So I've got all the endorsements other than having passengers, just because I figured, why not get it done and over with right from the get-go?
That's smart, man. Save some time in there for sure. So talk to me a little bit about the reefer driving. You said that gets old. I'm sure that you had some old memories pop up there when Hutch was talking about the loading of a reefer trailer. It's something I've heard a lot of drivers that pull reefer complain about is, improperly loaded, improperly secured. Then they got a mess. Then they don't get paid for the time. Did you have similar experiences when you were hauling reefer, Thomas?
Mine was a little different. I worked for a company, and I helped load the truck most of the time. The only time that I had an issue was when I had to go to, the one in Kansas City. I refused to go. I told my boss they could stick the whole truck right up their rear end if they made me go there again.
I like to see that.
There was one time I was there. Get this, okay? I showed up at that place with salad mix, and they make you down stack it and to separate it and all that. Mm-hmm. I went in that place with 4 pallets of salad mix. By the time I was done restacking it the way they wanted, I had 32 different pallets.
What?
And right as I got done, all that was left was the guy needed to sign my paper so I could get the heck out of there. And it's a union place, so it was like, oh, it's break time, and he just walked away.
Oh,
no.
God. Nothing
I was
worse.
so mad. I stood on a stack of pallets, threw the top pallet off of the thing as far as I could. It was so loud through that whole warehouse, somebody from the office came down. I said, just sign my stuff and I'll get out of your way. That place was insane. I never went back to that place again after that.
Tantrum. Man, Thomas, I would have been on the floor, punching, kicking, screaming, no.
I totally look. I understand unionized places. I get it, but the disrespect you must have felt for that guy to just look you square in the face and say, "No, it's break time," and walk away from you when all you needed was a signature. There's got to be nothing worse, man. I'd grind my molars right out of my skull.
Yeah, I was. The only thing I could say to myself was, don't punch him. Don't punch him. Don't do it.
Thank God you were able to refrain from that, man. That would have caused you a whole different set of problems.
Right, exactly.
And we won't comment on whether or not he was deserving of said punch. I think we'll just let you listeners make that distinction based on the story. What about the noise at night? Did the noise bother you at all? Hutch said, he didn't sleep real well to begin with, so it wasn't a big deal for him, but how was it out there trying to sleep with that unit right above your head?
Well, when I did that, I didn't go overnight very often at all, maybe once a month or something like that. So I was home every day at that point, so it didn't bother me. But when I did sleep in it, and even now, if I park next to a reefer, I sleep, I was in Joplin when the tornado went through, and I didn't even wake up for it.
Oh, okay, so it helps you sleep is what you're saying.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
I got it. Hey, man.
I woke up in the morning in Joplin after the tornado, tried to go to the Lowe's, and they're like, we don't have any power or anything. I'm like, I just need to use the restroom, and then I'll get out of here.
They're like, bro, there was a hurricane or tornado. We don't have anything. What part of the town's gone?
Right. Basically, and I was like, I was asleep. I don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Well, interesting stuff there, man. I'm glad that you found a home with Liquid, and you already said it. You're never looking back. We'll get into more of your transition here in just a minute, but I want to go to Rondell real quick here. Rondell, what lanes were you coming from before you found tanking?
Well, it sounds like I'm the new kid on the block for liquid trucking and tanking, but after 27 years and nearly 4 million miles, I was trying to find a different home. I've done pneumatic tanks for a little while when I first started. I did 12 years of flatbed, quads, A-trains, B-trains up there for Oregon companies. Even lived close to you at one point in time.
Okay.
Did hopper, did grocery. I did a reefer once or twice, but I did the grocery I did for 4 years for a big box store that everyone knows, you know, from the DC to the back of the store. Did doubles and triples for nearly 10 years. And so I've kind of hit the gambit of a lot of things, and everything I've always done has been a little bit more specialized. And the company I came to just before I went to a dry van company just before I came over here, and that was the boringest driving I have ever done in my entire career.
Well, man, and you can speak to it because you've done a lot of driving. 4 million miles is a load, man, and I wonder what about tanking drew you in after all that time? You pretty much experienced everything but tanking, it sounds like. I mean, listen, flatbedding is it's nothing to scoff at. That's some hard work there, throwing those tarps and straps and everything. You did that for 10 years.
In the 12 years, and in the Northwest, and running quads and A-trains, B-trains. I had 2 trailers to tarp, 2 trailers done tarp. What drew me in was the company, because obviously with my record and my you know, I can basically call just about anyone and I can get hired.
Right.
So I'm not looking at companies at what you're doing. I'm looking at your culture, because this is what matters now in my life. How are you going to treat me? What, you know, companies will say something like, oh, they care, they value the driver, and you're the most important asset. I could never figure out what's the difference between me and the truck. They care about the truck. They value the truck. The truck's an asset. You know, the only thing I know for sure is they're going to run both of us until we were broke. And once we were broken, they were going to replace us.
Sure.
Okay. I could never tell the difference between the two of us. Okay. So, and when I was talking to the guys here, I could tell I wasn't going to be just another truck. I was just another asset to burn out and replace.
Right.
Yeah. You can hear that.
And so, yeah, that makes a big difference, you know. You know, that and it's already proven to me. When we talk about transition, I'll tell you how they proved it to me. So I was laughing, you know, we're talking about the reefer always kept me asleep. Of course, we were able to keep ours. We had 3 zones, so we kept them always running.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, if someone turned it off, that thing turned off, that's what woke me up. It running was like putting me to sleep like a baby on a washing machine. I did have 2 guys turn my reefer off, you know, and it'll wake you straight up. Wait, hold on. The washing machine's off.
No, like I gotta have the fan on. If the power goes out, I'm instantly awake because that fan sound is gone. Like I get it, man.
Right, exactly.
Now I just picture, like, if the reefer shutting off woke me up, you can probably guarantee that I'm going to be standing outside my sleeper berth with my boxers and a tire thumper, wondering who's messing with my load. How did that whole thing play out for you, Rondell?
Well, the first time I was so annoyed. And normally I'm one of those overly patient, overly calm guys. I don't get excited. I don't know what to do when I get angry, because I don't get angry often. It was confusing because I parked in the corner at the back, and this flatbed, and I drove flatbed for years, so I understand, you know, and don't want to hear anything. But 1,000 parking spots, and he parks next to me and then turns my reefer off. So I did something very bold for me. Turned my reefer back on. And then I opened up my door, and I just banged like hell on his sleeper, got in my truck, and then moved.
I love it. Well, you know, a little bit of revenge there. It's what you buy when you're out messing with somebody else's gear. So, you know, just don't do it. But, okay, well, this is great. So now we got background on all of you guys, and Rondell, I'm going to keep it right here with you, and we'll kind of snake draft this thing. I'll head right back up through the ranks the way we came down through, but talk to me about, with that much experience in all different lanes of trucking, what was the one thing that tanking presented as a challenge for you that was kind of tough to learn, maybe completely different from anything that you'd ever done before in your 27 years out there on the road?
Well, I'm gonna adulterate your question there a little bit and say the actual hardest thing to learn over here was liquid trucking, because I came with preconceived notions, and the other guys are going to shake their head and go, "Rondo, you screwed up." Yeah, but I didn't screw up for the other companies. I screwed up here. So I've only been here a couple months now, and when I left training, I made a mistake. I didn't communicate. I was feeling sick. I had some personal stuff going on, but that's not the mistake. The mistake was I didn't communicate with dispatch early and often. And here's the thing. It's because dispatch, every other company, was a problem for me. Mm-hmm. You know, I was an asset. I was expendable. And the difference between, you know, them and other companies is instead of care, they support you. They protect you. They work with you. And I didn't know this because I came with a preconceived notion that dispatch don't give. You know, no matter how much they talk about it, 27 years, I've had a lot of experience with a lot of dispatchers who were just, so I made a mistake. And that's when I realized this ain't no regular, the driver pay by the hour, nice, but it's the mentality behind it that matters. It's, we want to take care of you. We are going to support you. We are going to work with you. Your time is valuable. Where I've come from, where time wasn't valuable. You know, I've never had assistance. And so getting rid of my preconceived notion that it's me against them and realizing this is a team, this is a family, that was the hardest to overcome and the hardest to adapt to.
Sure.
You know, and it's just like going to, in that mistake, I didn't want to go to the shipper, the receiver, and be 3 hours early, and it might take 3 hours to unload, because most companies, you won't get paid for that 6 hours, or maybe you only get paid an hour or two. But here they're going to pay for all 6 hours.
Yep.
But that was my time before. I was wasting my time if I did that. Now I'm not wasting my time. My time is valuable to them, and being there 3 hours early, I get paid for it, and it makes sense. So that was probably the hardest thing to overcome.
Yeah,
and I haven't been here long enough to know what I don't know, so that's actually even harder to overcome, because it's like, okay, there's so much more to tanking, and every time I turn around, oh shoot, I've never seen this. They didn't tell me about this. Yeah, but the culture here was the hardest thing for me to get used to.
And
hardest thing for me to learn.
In a good way, though. It's breaking all of those habits that were not your bad habits, but breaking away from all the bad habits that all the other companies you worked for had, and learning that not every company out there operates that way.
I had to protect myself.
Yep.
But over here, they do that for you. They help you do that. They work with you. And so I had made habits to protect myself, to take care of myself, because it wasn't us against them. And like I said, the other guys probably shaking their head. Yeah, you screwed up. Yeah, you should have, you know. Yeah, I know now. But you know how much they said it, they had to prove it. And you know what? They did prove it.
They did.
And now,
yep.
Yeah.
They will.
And that hourly pay isn't just, it's the concept and the intention behind it that matters, not just it.
Absolutely. Well said there, man. Great stuff. Thomas, I'm coming back to you, man. What was the something that challenged you about tanking? Interesting stuff there from Rondo about the company itself. I wonder, on both sides of it, the company or the job itself, was there anything that you found particularly challenging making the transition, Thomas?
Well, I'll answer that, but hold on first. What'd you say? His name is Rondo?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, I've been here almost 8 years. If you need anything or whatever, get my number from Marcus, and I'll help you out. I've been to almost all these places, and most of these other guys that have been here for a while will help you out too. So if you've only been here a couple months, you may have some more questions. Don't hesitate to call.
There is my proof of exactly what I'm saying. Even the drivers, it's the culture. That's hard to adapt to. That was not easy, and I know there's guys listening. I know guys have a bigger listenership than the 200 of us that exist, and that it's true, it's real, and I didn't necessarily believe it because I've had many years of listening to a lot.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of lip service in this industry. There's no question about it. And just a quick caveat here before we let Thomas get back to telling us about his challenges here. When award-winning stuff happens on the podcast, it's rarely Amanda and I that are opening our mouths when it happens. And Amanda, I know that you could feel that moment right there too, because we get to see this stuff all the time. Yeah, Amanda was putting up the heart hands. I mean, this is something that is so special about Liquid Trucking, and we kind of have this special fly on the wall position where we get to see this stuff happen a lot. Not the first time we've had a driver say, "Get my number from Marcus. I want to help if I can." And Thomas, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to say that on the show, because Rondell's not the only driver that heard you say that. There's a ton of drivers listening right now that heard you say that, and you just made them all feel better about the support that they have within this company, man.
Well, yeah, and any drivers that are listening, they can get a hold of somebody and get my number. I've been doing this a while, because even before here, I drove tanks for 3 years before I came here. So I've got 11 years experience in the tanks. So you got a question, give me a holler. I've done that before. I met a guy, I can't remember his name right now, I'm horrible with names, at call in Kansas City. He was having problems with the trailer. I helped him out and gave him my number, and he's called me multiple times. So I have no problem helping anybody out.
That's great, man.
Anybody that's listening, anybody, if you got a question, heck, even if you've been here longer than me and still have a question, it happens to me. Sometimes I have questions.
And
that's one thing about tanking is everything is different everywhere you go. And so, if somebody's been there before, it helps out. That's what I like about that Deliver Recon we've got. That's a good thing. You can get on there and people got all kinds of information and stuff, places you go. It helps out a lot.
Every driver I show Delivery Recon to is like, oh my God, they can see the care in the company just by that right there. Because I got other friends outside, I've been in it as well. And just that right there, they see the difference in the company just by Delivery Recon. Oh, drivers can upload pictures. Drivers can give other drivers information. That makes a difference when you go into a place that 14 guys have been to, and they can show you, hey, turn around here, not there.
Right.
something just as simple as that can save so much time, man. That's great. So again, thank you, Thomas, for being that guy. And we know we've got a lot of guys just like you out there. They want to help. Rondell, I will send you Thomas's phone number as soon as we get off the show here, so that you can dive into that wealth of information. 11 years behind the wheel of a tank, Thomas, you've got a lot of that info. You've seen a lot of things. When you made that transition, getting back to our question here, what was the toughest part about coming out of a reefer and starting out with a tank?
It wasn't, other than getting used to like the slosh, other than that, it wasn't too bad. Cause so when I first started driving tanks, more than just at the, around the yard, I was driving all food grade. And before that, being reefer, I was used to all the USDA and all that kind of stuff already. Mm-hmm. So the transition was pretty easy for me, other than just getting used to the slosh and, the ease of unloading with O's instead of 40 pallets,
Yeah, absolutely. If a union guy walks away from you at a liquid delivery, it's real hard for you to throw product into the warehouse. That's something we all know, right? But
that's true. That's true.
It's interesting there. You kind of talked about the unload, and that's obviously was something that we'll get into, because there's plumbing there that's involved that if you don't at least have an idea of what you're doing, you can collapse an entire tank, no problem. But I wonder about the first time that surge hit you. Was that kind of an eye-opening moment? Can you tell us that story? Did anything, I assume, since you're still here 8 years later, it didn't spin you out into traffic or anything like that, but what was that first moment like when you realized that the surge or the slosh is a real serious thing?
Well, the first time I actually had it was when I was doing the yard dog stuff. We had tankers that we filled up there, and then we had to scale, and you had to drop it on the scale and move off, and I almost had one come off the scale with the surge because I just dropped it to go, not even thinking about it. And, on that flat metal, it just started sliding because, sometimes those park brakes don't lock in real well.
Yep.
And so just on the feet, it started sliding on me and almost went off the scale about made me have a heart attack, I think.
I can
And so-
imagine.
That was my first real like, whoa, this is the thing you got to pay attention to. And so I kind of got used to it there in the yard without being on the road with it to get going. So my get go with it was a little different than a lot of guys. I got to kind of basically practice in a big yard first before I was actually going down the road with it.
Sure. Great stuff there, man. Thanks for that, Thomas. Hutch, you've been patient, man. Appreciate you sticking around here. I'm interested to hear what the big transitional thing was for you. Was there anything that really challenged you starting off when you first moved over to tanking?
Well, even though I was very frustrated in the reefer gig I had because it was, a lot of mistakes in the loading process, which made unloading more difficult. I personally wasn't doing the unloading. I would help, but it wasn't required. But if I wanted my day to go faster, I'd help out yanking some pallets with pallet jacks and stuff. So actually being responsible for unloading wasn't that big of a deal. But when you make a mistake, it's you definitely learn from it. That is for sure. I remember my first wasn't that big of a mistake, but first mistake I made, I was trying to, in my mind, like the plumbing you were talking about, trying to keep track of, okay, where's the product and all these pipes that I can't see or whatever. And I had a small leak in one of the seals for the hose connected to the truck, and I thought I got everything out, but I wasn't really paying attention. And once my hose connected to the customer, it went up in the air like 40 feet before dropping into the top of the tank. And I just quickly glanced over and thought I only had a couple feet from, on the other side of the wall into the bottom of the tank. So I thought I blew enough air to clear the line, and I got everything. And I'm taking off my coupler to make sure the seal, to replace the seal or whatever, or the gasket. And about 40 feet of molasses came out of that hose. And it was, when I took off my glasses, that's the only thing that you could see of my flesh was my eyes.
Man.
I knew as soon as you said 40 feet, something bad was going to happen with that.
40 feet of molasses
I
is
knew
like
it.
80 feet of anything else,
Yeah,
right? Good
right.
Lord.
Yeah. So I was
Man.
covered in head to toe in that. And so there's only so many baby wipes that come in a package. Like
I was going to
a
say,
mess.
did you lose hair? I mean, that was, wow, what a cleanup.
The worst part about it is, so like I'm almost like a calico cat. So my beard is red, my hair on the top of my hair is brown, and like my arm hair is blonde, right? So I'm trying to get cleaned off of all this molasses that has a slightly red tint, and they kept telling me it's still all over your beard, and I'm trying to clean it off, and I'm like, wait a minute, these wet wipes are coming back clean. There's nothing on my beard. And so I had to explain to him that's my face.
You're only, and I wouldn't normally deviate to tell this story right now because we're on to something, but you're the second person I know that's been covered in molasses. Unlike the other person that I know, you didn't do it voluntarily. We used to, on the old radio show that I did, I've said this before on here, the show was called The Donkey Show, okay? So there's all sorts of jokes in that, but we did a lot of off-the-wall things.
Balls involved, right?
Nothing like that, I promise. But we did have a stunt guy, Hutch, and his name at the time was B-Rock, and he entered into a Super Bowl bet with me where we both picked whatever team we thought was going to win, and the punishment was we covered him in molasses, and he lost, thank God. We covered him in molasses, we rolled him in oats, and we had a live donkey lick him clean. And I will tell you right now, it's the wet wipes are a way better way to get clean when you're covered with molasses than having a donkey lick you, because that donkey, coolest little animal, but it bit him like 18 times trying to get the molasses and the oats off of him. And it doesn't matter how sticky their tongues are, man. That stuff does not come off. So I'm glad that you at least had some wet wipes. But yeah, I digress. I'm sorry, Amanda. I had to tell that story.
I vaguely remember that.
Were you in the area when that happened?
Yeah.
Hang on now. I got to connect with Rondo a little bit. Where did you live out here in the Pacific Northwest?
So I lived in Gresham. I lived in Bend at one point in time, and lived in Gresham at one point in time. I worked for Oregon companies, even though sometimes I lived in Colorado most of the time. But I lived in, and I was driving. I came across it. Another driver called me and said, "Oh, turn it in." I don't remember the state. Yeah. Because as soon as you started saying a donkey licking, I'm like, oh, I remember that.
Well,
that's one you don't forget. And one of the other drivers out of Redmond, or Terrebonne, called me and said, "Oh, you're over here, aren't you?" Yeah. I don't remember all the details, but I remember that.
well, at least we finally got somebody on the air that can confirm that I had that job. That's all I wanted. Is Rondell's been able to. I haven't just been making stories up. He was in the area at the time that happened. I promise you. That's great, man. That's great. Well, thanks for bringing that up. That makes me feel good. Back to what we're actually here to talk about now today. I kind of wonder, you guys. Rondell, you're a great person to start out with because you talked about misconceptions that you had, and most of your misconceptions were about the company and the way that the company is run, and good things, right? Not bad things, but I want you to talk to me a little bit about misconceptions you might have had about the actual job itself. You know, you hear about Hutch getting covered in molasses. Was there anything about the plumbing or about the seals and everything like that and the offload or the onload process that was just completely foreign to you after all those years doing other types of hauling?
So we were talking about the surge, and this is a great question to lay into this, and I'll get back to that. Is surge was a misconception too, because I understand a lot of guys that forward surge is scary. Well, I ran doubles and triples with, totes and stuff in them. So I had this expectation that the forward surge was going to be bad. Strangely enough, the problem I had as a driver with my experience, especially with doubles and A-trains, it was the rear surge. Because in a set of doubles, when you feel that seat of your pants pull you backwards, something bad happened to your rear trailer or your third trailer. And the first time I felt it, I'm looking for brakes. I'm looking in mirrors because I'm thinking I hit something. A tire blew, an axle. So I understand a lot of guys, the forward surge is scary. But in my experience, the rear surge is the thing that still to this day gets me. Sometimes it'll hit and I'll be like, oh, looking in the mirrors, checking that I released the fucking trailer brake. Yeah. Are the airlines still on? Because and it still gives me a little bit of panic. Having done what I was surprised at, the other preconceived notion with plumbing that wasn't a big deal was I thought, okay, I did pneumatic tanks 27 years ago. Because in the first year I was driving, I don't remember anything. I don't remember yesterday, let alone 27 years ago. I couldn't tell you what I had for breakfast, okay? So I thought, there's not a bit of that's going to translate. And as soon as they put the air on and said, we're going to air off, I was like, oh, I know this. This is nothing.
Okay.
This makes perfect sense to me.
Interesting.
Yeah. And my fear of pressure, well, I'd already done a mistake 27 years ago, which translates to today. I'd opened the back of a pneumatic tank, didn't have pressure on anything, but had pressure in that line. Blew the cap off. It gave me a little scar on my foot because it blew it off at 1,000 miles per hour, but it's powdered cement. And I turned into Casper like in an instant.
I was going to say, you probably got covered.
Yeah, so I've done the molasses, but you can't wipe off powdered cement with a baby wipe. Trust me, it don't work. You just make cement.
Need yourself a portable air compressor, don't you?
Yeah.
They took him to the car wash.
Yeah. So there was a lot of memories I just unlocked, and it was just so simple. The kind of scary thing was I realized my license wasn't dry. I was still wet behind the ears when I did that job, and they gave me like an hour training. How I survived and didn't kill myself, because these guys will tell you when you got pressure in the tank, that's a scary time.
Yeah,
that's when you can make mistakes that hurt you.
Yep.
And I didn't know any better, you know? And I was like, okay, yeah, that's the 2-week training here is a big deal because I had a 1-hour training. They said, this fine. You'll figure it out. Well, okay. So,
Wow.
so
It reminds me of that. A 1-hour training, Amanda, reminds me of that new movie that came out. It's called Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. It's like that's the gist of a 1-hour training right there. Like, here's a few things to do. Good luck, have fun, don't die. So glad to hear that you made it out of that cap blown off with only minimal injuries. Thomas, I'm going to come back to you here, man. Any misconceptions that you had, and you talked a little bit about the surge there, the slosh that you felt the first time and that being serious. I kind of want to switch it back over to the company for you. Was there anything about Liquid as a company? Obviously, you've already kind of embodied what they're looking for out of their drivers in this conversation where you told Rondell to give you a call. But was there anything that was kind of eye-opening about the company itself when you made the transition to Liquid, Thomas, that was kind of like a pleasant surprise?
No, and I'll tell you why. I had a friend of mine that I worked with at the place before this, and he came to Liquid before me, and he called me up and he said, "Hey, you got to get here." And he told me all about it and everything like that. And when it was my time to leave that last company, all I did was call him up. And because of his recommendation and, I didn't even have an interview. I called and they're like, "Yeah, start Monday."
Oh, wow.
And that was it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
I never even came up and it was like, "Hey, fill out your stuff and bring it with you and you can start," and that was it. So I had already known about the company from a buddy of mine. So there was no surprises. It was just like, "Hey, I'm ready to go. Let's go." Because like the job I had before this, I was home almost every night. And so I didn't really want to make the transition. But by the time I, drive my whole day, drive home, eat and sleep, and then turn around and go back, I had no time at home anyway. And so the time I was home, you want quality over quantity. And so I was like, I'm going to Liquid Trucking. At least I'll be home on the weekends and have a whole weekend and I'll be, around.
Right.
So,
well, and I was fortunate enough to meet your family out there at the Jamboree too, and you can tell that you've got a really good support system there at home, Thomas, and they probably, I know that going away for the week and only coming home on the weekends thing is a little bit of a tough transition to make, but I'm sure that they enjoy the time that they get with you on the weekends when you're not just beat to death, right?
Not only that, but then also like, I don't remember which one of the guys was talking about it, that, the time off stuff. Anytime I need to be off for the kids or whatever, there's no issue. There's no complaint. There's no, "Oh, you already had time off last week." It's just, "Oh, you need wind? Okay." And they get you there before you need to be there instead of after.
That's awesome.
I've only had one time that they didn't get me home on time and they fell all over themselves apologizing about it, and it wasn't even their fault. So,
There you go.
and so that was an anniversary weekend. I was supposed to go home. I ended up not actually being able to go home that weekend at all. And ever since then, when it comes to my anniversary, I'm home like 2 days early. They're like, "Nope, you're not missing it again."
Yeah.
And that was 7 years ago.
Wow. Well, it's like Amanda said, they don't
do somebody.
Yeah.
And got a recommendation because when I talked to Jake, I went to Safer Stats and I'm like, Liquid Trucking, and there's no Safer Stats on Liquid Trucking, and I don't know anybody in Omaha. I worked for an Omaha company, but I didn't like them and anybody there once before. And I'm like, who's this Cracker Jack Box Jake guy? There's no Liquid Trucking in Safer Stats because I didn't realize, it was Bardo, OFC, and Schaefer.
Yeah.
It took me a little while to figure out that this company was legit because I'm like, okay, there's no Safer Stat. What the heck? So that probably helped having some recommendation.
It sure does, man.
Yeah.
That's kind of the best kind of insider trading you can do, right, Thomas? It's like you just
Absolutely.
they give you that heads up that this is a good place to be, and just all of a sudden on Monday you're there, and it works out. Here we are 8 years down the road, and you're still willing to say, "Hey, take my number if you need help, man." I don't know if there's a better way that we could illustrate what we're here to talk about today. Is the transition tough? Yeah, it's going to challenge you maybe a little bit more than if you're just bumping docks in a dry van right now, but it's not doable. And as we go back to Hutch here to talk to him a little bit, even after you got covered in 40-foot worth of molasses, you're still here. Everything's still going all right. You were able to come back from that. We went away from it a little bit, and that's my fault. I just got excited, Hutch. But I just wanted to ask you kind of how the situation was handled from the fleet side when that happened. And the reason I'm asking this is because I hear that they're coaching you, they're not admonishing you for your mistakes. You're going to get some coaching. You're going to realize why that happened and how to prevent it next time. Was that sort of how things were handled with you during your molasses disaster? Which, by the way, great band name right there, Molasses Disaster.
Molasses Disaster. I can
Somebody
see the
take
t-shirt
it
already, man.
Somebody take it. Sorry, Hutch. Go ahead.
No worries. Well, basically how it was handled is, I called my dispatcher, told him that it was a boo-boo, and he told me to take pictures. And so I took pictures because, not only me, but some did get on the ground because my body isn't big enough to hold all of it. And so,
but you tried,
even though I tried. Yeah. And so, after I sent him the pictures, he took a look at it. He asked me the basic questions about what was customer wear and all this, that, and the other thing, and just sent me a link for a incident report. And so I filled that out, and that goes to safety and all that stuff. And basically, they asked me if I understood why it happened and everything like that. And I was, I'm fully aware of why it happened after it happened.
Right. Right. I can put two and two together.
Yeah. And so, it hasn't happened since. But I haven't had anything that I had. So I've probably fed out 4 or 5 incident reports since I've been here. Haven't had anything where I've been pulled into the office and been, told, hey, this is your last chance or whatever. But at that point in time, I guess it goes back to the whole misconception thing about the company too. So, prior to coming here, the longest weekend break that I ever had was like 38 hours.
Oh, wow.
And, so normally I get home at 2 p.m. on a Sunday and be leaving for work at 2 a.m. on a Monday type of thing, or 8 a.m. in the Monday. But I guess when I came on, it was kind of like a slow season. Probably the second week I was here, the dispatch sent me a message on Saturday. It said, hey, just call and check with us at Monday morning because we don't have anything for you. And the entire weekend I was talking like, well, I guess I got to find another job. This one didn't work out. And so I thought I was going to get fired the next week, and it was just, there was no available load, just free time off.
Yeah,
They're not
free
trying
time
to
off,
scold
man.
you guys. They want everyone to succeed together.
Yeah,
so
there you
the
go.
molasses was a learning experience, and now you're just more of a pro, right?
Oh yeah, it's and basically it luckily I'm extremely thankful it wasn't a dangerous product.
Yeah,
but every time I look back now, there's I've had another spill, but it wasn't technically my fault. It was more of equipment malfunction. But I really slow it down and make sure that even if it's not something, even if it is something that's not going to hurt me, I treat it as if it is, and treat everything as if it's always under pressure and dangerous, and everything works out okay.
Sage advice, man. Sage advice there for sure. Well, fellas, as always, these conversations when we're having fun and getting so much good content out of you guys go by fast. And believe it or not, we've already been sitting in here for about 52 minutes, so I need to let you guys get back to it. Amanda and I have got a meeting we're already late for, and it's with the powers that be at Liquid, so we'll just go ahead and issue an apology here that they can hear in 2 weeks when this episode launches. But, fellas, we really appreciate the time spent here today. Now, Rondell and Thomas, you guys have listened to the show before. I'm sure you know that we give you a chance to share your final thoughts with us here every time you come on the show. This is a good time to shout out anybody that might be listening, family members you want to say hi to, other drivers, or if we left anything on the table and there's more that you want to say here, now's the time to go ahead and say it. Hutch, since you've joined us before, you get the catbird seat this time. You're going to be going first for final thoughts. Joseph Hutchinson, thank you so much for being here once again. We always appreciate the time, man. Final thoughts from you before we let you get going today.
None other than, have everybody have a safe weekend. Hopefully they come back with all their fingers and enjoy this wonderful country that we've been blessed to live in.
Absolutely. And I should go ahead and just mark that real quick. We are recording this on the 2nd of July. So everybody's getting ready to go out and do some fun stuff over the weekend. And that come back with all your fingers comment was very poignant given the day. Hutch, we appreciate you, man. You be safe out there. Watch out for any falling molasses. And we will get you back on here again soon. Okay, sir?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. That's Joseph Hutchinson. Let's go next to Rondell Markwell. Rondell, thank you so much for being here, man. Tons of experience in the trucking industry. Can't wait to get you back on the show. Final thoughts for you before we let you go today.
I look forward to it. My final thoughts are for anybody out there that's not a liquid trucking driver with, lots of experience like I have, been through the ringer. It's worth it. Come over here, talk to these guys. It is what they say it is. And even if it isn't and you don't like it, they pay you enough for the orientation and the time you're here that you won't starve to death. So just do it. That's my final thoughts.
Great stuff, Rondell. Thank you so much for being here today. We'll get you those Drive for Gold points for making your first appearance on the show. All right, my friend?
Appreciate you.
No problem, buddy. Thank you so much. Last, certainly not least here, we've got Thomas Fish. Thomas, I got one question for you before we get to final thoughts, man. How was the experience here on the podcast today? I never thought I'd get you on, so I got to ask you.
It wasn't bad. Wasn't bad.
You hear that? Those of you that have said no to me all those times before, you just heard it from Thomas. It wasn't that bad. That's a positive thing. Amanda and I are calling that a win, man.
Thomas, listen, he legit was so excited. Like when he was calling you, he was telling me he was so excited. So I want you to know how genuine he is being when he's telling you.
He
was excited to get you on.
I had such a good time meeting you and your family at the Jamboree. You're just one of 10, 20 examples that I have of that day. But when I was talking to your significant, is that your wife or your girlfriend? Help me remember, Thomas.
Wife.
That's your wife. Okay.
That's my wife. She's been my wife for 20 years.
Oh, congratulations, man. And she was even pressuring you a little bit, and I was feeling that, but I could tell you were going to do it when the time was right, man, and I just appreciate you giving us a shot here. It's been really cool to get to have you on the show, but really where all that love that Amanda's talking about comes from is getting to meet you guys in person, talk to your family and everything like that. So we greatly appreciate the time. Glad it wasn't that bad for you, man. Final thoughts from you before we let you get back to it today, Thomas.
Well, I just want to say thanks for having me on, and like I said, it wasn't that bad, and yeah, like you said, my wife has been saying stuff ever since then about me getting on here. Anytime a text comes through, she's like, well, why don't you call him and do that one? Why don't you call and do that one? So I'm glad I finally did, and she was happy when I told her I was going to also.
Awesome. Well, you're going to have to make sure she listens to this one, all right?
All right. I will let her know.
Now, we've learned, me being a married man myself, that it's oftentimes it behooves you to say something nice about your wife before we let you go during these final thoughts segments. Would you like to add anything in here before we let you go, Thomas?
Oh, just that she's amazing, and I'm the luckiest man on earth to have her.
That's really well said,
right.
my friend. Really
That's
well
right.
said. Thomas, Rondell, Joseph Hutchinson, or Hutch as we call him on the show, you guys be safe out there, all right? We'll get you all back on here soon. And for Rondell and Thomas, 25,000 Drive for Gold points headed your way, fellas. Thanks so much. We'll be back here on the Liquid Trucking Podcast. Great stuff from our drivers today, Thomas, Rondell, and Hutch there. We really appreciate the time as always. And as you heard me mention in the open, 25,000 Drive for Gold points heading to Thomas and to Rondell for making their first appearance here on the show. And I should also mention that I had forgotten to issue Hutch his first time Drive for Gold points for making his first appearance on the show. He sent me an email. I rectified that for him. I will say, go ahead. If I've forgotten to send you points at any given time, you go ahead and shoot me a text message or an email, and I will rectify that for you. I also have to issue an apology here on this episode, Amanda. Not many times that I have to do that, but I am sequestering space to issue an apology. First and foremost, I'm going to give you the opportunity to guess. Do you have in your mind any ideas what it was that I could have bungled? Out of all the things I could bungle, what I could bungle that I would have to issue an apology for on this podcast?
Suggesting molasses as the holiday gift?
That's close, very close. No, good guess. Any other guesses? Because I'll give it away, I promise.
Sending unsolicited jokes.
Close. Actually, that's very close. That comes very close to the bullseye. I sent an unsolicited text at 10 p.m. to a bunch of drivers that were probably off the road and sleeping. Not to mention, I also sent it to everybody in management just because I wanted to make sure that they knew that I was way off base here.
Was it a selfie? What'd you do, man? Come on.
No, I sent a fleet text to all the guys about this show to see how many drivers, which drivers wanted to come on and join us for this show. And real quick, I will say the bright spot here, record response to this for this episode right here. We had 12 drivers reach out and say that they wanted to be a part of the show. So much that we're probably going to have to do a part 2 so that we can involve everybody that wants to be here. But somewhere in the scheduling of that text message, I got fat fingers and set it for 10 p.m. instead of 10 a.m. That is my fault. I've got broad shoulders. I'm taking the blame. I'm sorry to any of you drivers that I might have woken up. I know how important rest is out here. There's nothing about this that I take lightly, and I really apologize if I woke anybody up, if I just straight up upset somebody by having a work text come through at 10 p.m. I know how that stuff goes, and I do greatly apologize. I'll also apologize to management, as they were probably all also asleep when that text message came through, as they're all early risers from what I've learned about them. So apologies all around. I don't mean to send it. It wasn't a "hey girl, you up" text message, thank God. But it was just a message that you guys had already received today. So, and I will be honest with you, I know that there's some night shift drivers out there. We did get 2 responses from the late one that went out as well. That's not a good thing. I didn't want that, but again, record response. So there's a small bit of good news with my bungle here, but the bungle did warrant an apology, Amanda.
Well, now I know that having broad shoulders and fat fingers can lead to that. So I'm just going to keep that in mind for future reference for myself. But
keep doing your grip strengthener, keep doing your your lat pull downs. I guess that'll broaden the shoulders. So it's up to you whether you want it or not. I mean,
like anybody who knows you have the best intentions with everything you do. So
gosh,
apology
I hope so.
is sweet. But
thank you.
I think also very sincere. So you're a great person.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. And for all the fun we have on this show, it only makes sense that your boy here is going to have too much fun and screw up once in a while. And if that doesn't personify my professional career, I don't know what does. So.
And if they are not taking the apology, then we can offer to allow them to cover you in molasses if that will make them feel better. I think that's a fair trade.
I am glad that you think that's a fair trade. I will comment on that when the time comes, as I'm trying to keep myself out of the hot box right now. But yes, I'll always apologize when I do something like that. One person I'm not going to apologize to, Gene Simmons. Guy's kind of a dick. I'm going to be honest with you. You said he yelled at you at one point in time. I kind of want to know.
No, I was afraid he was going to yell at me.
Oh, okay.
The worst thing he did was tell me to calm down. And it wasn't that big of a deal, except then I saw him do another interview where he told that girl to also calm down. And then I was just really offended. Like, oh, I'm just like all the rest.
That was just his thing. That's like his thing that he was doing for
I don't
that.
want to talk about Gene Simmons thing. That guy, nah.
Here's who I'll tell you. If you didn't listen to the Howard Stern show back in the day, I will tell you that the best Gene Simmons interview ever done was on the Howard Stern show, and it was because a comedian named Craig Gass dressed up like Gene Simmons, and he does a flawless impression of him.
I'm Googling it.
Go watch that. Craig Gass, a personal friend of mine, and I've had him on my personal podcast. He's the only comedian to ever open for Metallica on a tour, and just a phenomenal watch. Craig Gass, Gass, doing Gene Simmons on the Howard Stern show. It's worth your time. But again, for like the 10th time today, I digress. We want to wrap this up and actually talk about the interview that we just had with our liquid trucking drivers. We always try to make a room for a little bit of fun on this show, but that was a really good interview, and I feel like we got to put the bow on top by just saying thanks to those guys for talking about the transition, Amanda, because as you and I mentioned before we started the interview, you can be doing 99% of the same thing in a new career, and that 1% can be the thing that throws you completely for a loop, makes you not like the career. You just heard from 3 guys. One of them's been on the road for 27 years and has 4 million miles under his belt. And he ended up here at Liquid Trucking. You've got Thomas, who's, he's been tanking now for 11 some years. And what did he say? I'm not looking back. 8 years with Liquid. I'm not looking back. Hutch, he came out of getting covered in 40 feet worth of molasses, and things are going fine. So while things might be challenging, and we don't want to take any of this stuff lightly because, like Hutch said, it's very fortunate that was not a chemical that could have very badly hurt me. And yes, it is. But you're going to get the training to know what's going on here and to prevent those types of accidents. And also, you're going to get paid for those 3 hours that you're sitting there tapping your foot in the truck waiting to get offloaded. All in all, what we hear on this podcast over and over and over again, Amanda, is when drivers do make the switch and come to Liquid Trucking, they are happy, they get happy, and they stay happy. And it's pretty cool to be in our position and get to hear those stories just hand over fist every time we turn on the mics.
Oh, yeah. And who better to hear it from than Hutch, Rondell, and Thomas?
You are really onto that monster thing. She's not going to forget your guys' names.
Right? I got it forever now.
Now we have to send you to the Jamboree so that you can do that live to all these people.
Just the fact that it's called a Jamboree, I already wanted to go. So I'm down. Sign me up.
I mean, they had a bouncy castle there for you. Matt Cleach and the boys, Jason Cranehagen, they're out cooking all the meats. I mean, it was awesome. And I do think... I don't want to get out in front of my skis here, which I've spent my professional career way out and over my skis, but I think there might be an invitation coming our way for the Liquid Trucking Jamboree. I'm not 100% sure yet. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up too much. I did just send a "Hey girl, you up" text message to the whole fleet, so maybe that invite gets rescinded. I don't know. But I'm in hopes that it comes again because you just heard Thomas on the show there, and I made a point to really center in on that because I will tell you right now, when I asked Thomas to a person straight up, "When are you going to come on the show?" "I'm not," is what he said. And his wife was sitting right there going, "Come on, you got to." No, it's not my thing. I didn't beat down his door. I sent him the same text I sent everybody. He was cool enough to get back and do this one. And maybe he does it again, maybe he doesn't. It doesn't matter to me. What I like is that we got out there, we made some connections, we met some people, and it turned into a podcast episode down the road. If you get that chance here with some of the drivers from Liquid, you'll really understand why it meant so much to me to get to be the guy that was out there last year. This is a great group of people, Amanda, and sometimes we don't mention it all the time here on the show, but it really comes through in episodes like this where there's a little bit of a personal connection there.
Absolutely. And seeing the guys always willing to help each other without being prompted. That is, when I say I'm putting up the heart hands, I'm feeling it all the way into my core. Like it is such an endearing thing to see, but it's also, this is your career. This is your livelihood. Yes, it can be scary. And how nice is that to have coworkers and people in your company that are like, "Hey man, I've been in your shoes. I got you."
Yep, absolutely. And I need to make sure and send Thomas's number over to Rondell. We're going to do that right now. That does it for us today on episode, I got to look back at my thing, 136. I told you I'm not good at remembering these. 136 here of the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I can't believe it. We're going to be at 150 before we even look up. That's all thanks to you guys, our fantastic listener base. Whether you work for Liquid Trucking or you don't, every click that you make matters. Make sure to hop over to the website, podcast.liquidtrucking.com, for everything involving the Liquid Trucking Podcast, including all the episodes, who we're talking to, and what we're talking about. And if you feel so inclined, I know that this isn't on video, but you could pick yourself up a nice little Liquid Trucking shirt like the one I've got on right now. What do you think, Amanda? You like that?
It's looking good. It's looking really good. You know what? Maybe if you included a selfie in that shirt with the "Hey girl, you up" text. I'm just saying.
Then maybe it doesn't upset Josh quite as bad, right? I woke that guy up, and I have some comeuppance to pay. I will tell you that right now. Thanks, everybody, for being here. You want to hit the tagline today? You haven't done that in a while.
Well, first of all, love all of you. So I'm putting that before and stay safe out there and keep the shiny side up.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in and being the gold standard of drivers on the road. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and tune in next week for another episode of the Liquid Trucking Podcast.
Interested in finding out more about what it takes to bring a podcast like the Liquid Trucking Podcast to your fleet? Bulldog provides tailor-made top-to-bottom podcast production services. We'll meet your terminal staff, connect with your drivers, and bring you the content you want your drivers to hear. Type bulldog.works into your browser to connect with us and learn more about what we can do for your fleet. That's bulldog.works for podcasts, tenacious recruiting, and more.